Hello YouTube, this is Afro Man from Team Island MTG, and I'm here with a red-black aggro dash deck tech. We're just going to run right into this. We're going to play a playset of Lightning Berserker, dash it for red mana. It's a turn 1 cast, so you can usually ping in for 1 damage, regardless of if you're on the play or the draw. Turn 1 damage is really nice, goes ahead and gets us in the swing of things, no pun intended, early in the game. Next, we will run 3 Mardu Scout. It's 2 red mana to hard cast, which we really won't do with this because of its low toughness. And it's a red and a colorless to dash. It's a 3/1 and usually gets in a ton of damage early and a ton of damage often because of how low that cost is. Next, we're going to run into the biggest dash synergy pump card we have. That's for Ambuscade Shaman. It's a 2/2. And whenever a creature hits the board, it gets +2/+2 until the end of turn, which is great when you have 2 of these and then you dash something like Mardu Scout or you dash Lightning Berserker. It makes it really big, really fast without pumping it at all. To round out our 3 drops, we've got Scream Reach Brawler for a 2 mana cost dash to 2/3, which means it survives Wild Slash, which is really important. And it's 3 mana to hard cast. This might be one that we cast out of our hand and let it stay on the board, but it usually doesn't happen. Next, we're going to run 3 Warbringer. It reduces dash cost by 3, and so, 2, sorry. It's 3 to dash, and it is a 3/3, which means if you dash this first, then you can dash Ambuscade for 1 black mana, then you can dash Lightning Berserker, or another one of these for 1 mana, and then swinging with a lot of dudes. Really important to the deck, and that's why we're running 3 of them. We're going to run Flame Rush Rider, which is a 3/3, and it costs 4 to dash, but when it swings, you get a copy of target creature that swings along with it, so it's really, really important. Next, to round out our creatures, we've got 2 Kolaghan Storm's Fury, which is a 5 mana dash, and whenever a dragon swings, gives all of your dudes +1/+0, which means that pumps every single creature swinging, making this a 5 every time it swings, plus Ambuscade Shaman's ability would make it 7 every time it swings, but you know, that's a lot. That's why we're running it, because it's very important, it's very powerful, it's very great with this synergy. Next, we're going to run Dragon Lord Kolaghan. He is a 6/5 with flying haste, gives all of our dudes haste, and whenever our opponent casts a creature that's got another copy in the graveyard, they lose 10 life, which means they're really wary about what they cast and when they cast it. Next, we're going to go into our token production, which just really floods our board even more. First, we've got 3 Dragon Fodder, which is 2 mana for 2 tokens, 2 1/1 goblins, which is really nice with the synergy that we've got coming up after this. And then we've got a Hordling Outburst, which is 3 mana, 2 red, and a white, colorless for 3 goblins. Those are really important because they trigger our key spells. Impact Tremors. Every time a dude hits the board, our opponent loses 1 life. And Outpost Siege. We're typically going to cast Outpost Siege on dragons. And then, whenever a creature leaves the board, which is dash, our opponent loses 1 life. So, on their way in and their way out, each creature's doing 2 damage if we have both of those on the board. That is devastating to somebody who likes to play long game and can't kill our dudes with spot removal. Next, we're going to run into our own bit of removal. We're going to run a playset of Reeve Soul, which is sorcery speed, unfortunately. If it were instant speed, it would be a lot more expensive, or at least an uncommon. Reeve Soul kills target creature power 3 or less, which means anything strong enough to ping off, or anything small enough that would just ping off one of our dudes, gets killed by Reeve Soul. So that takes care of tokens that just get in the way and ping out to make sure we can't kill. And you know, that just really cleans up the board for us. Our card that we want to play before we start casting creatures is Languish. It's 4 mana, gives all of our opponent's dudes -4/-4, and that really helps us get our game into play and gives us unblocked damage. We're going to run Ruinous Path, which typically we're only going to cast to kill a walker, but if we need to kill creatures, it's there. It's 3 mana sorcery speed, which isn't that great, but it's got Awaken, which means late game we can turn a land into another dude that's just going in pounding. Our last bit of legitimate removal is Foul Tongue Invocation, and when that's paired with a Kolagon, we gain 4 life and we make our opponent sack a dude, which is pretty devastating. Next, we're going to run 2 Kolagon's Command, which has a plethora of playable abilities. We are either going to typically return a card from the graveyard to our hand. We can make our opponent discard a card. Artifacts aren't that big in Standard right now, but it's still an option. And we can do 2 damage to a creature or player, which kills off weak planeswalkers. It helps us burn out our opponent. It kills off Gideon after somebody swings and then makes an emblem. And it really helps us late game or early game. That's a great all-around play regardless. Next, we're going to play 2 Tormenting Voices, which help us dig to what we need. A lot of times we've got everything we need in our hand, but if we need that extra land and we've got a couple creatures that are disposable, cards that aren't really great anymore, like Mardu Scout, we can pitch it for 2 more cards. Our last 4 spells that we're running in the deck are 3 Sarkhan the Dragon Speaker. He's an all-around great card. I've talked about him before. His +1 is a Pounder through the air, which is really hard to block. His -3 pretty much removes everybody that we're playing against, and his ultimate works better with this deck than it did Mardu Super Friends, but we still don't really want that one to fire off. And just like in Mardu Super Friends, we have another Ob Nixilis. His +1 is great. You lose 1 and you draw 1. It helps us dig into what we're looking for. His -3 is destroy target creature, and his ultimate is phenomenal. I don't really feel like I need to talk about that anymore. And then, it's great. It really ends games because we draw all the time. Your opponent draws all the time. So even when we're not firing off with draw spells, we've got power because our opponent's going to draw and they're going to hurt themselves. We're going to go into our mana base. We've got 2 Looming Spire, which pump our guys and give them first strike. Then we're going to run a 9 count of Mountains.